Hello, and welcome to the GRADD Dialogue. This month my guest is Representative Suzanne Miles, and I say Representative Suzanne Miles because he is the elected legislator from this area. She has more than just the part of Davis County, as a part of Henderson County too, and Union County too. However, and Webster County, not Webster County, no, Union County. However, she is also now, I'm honored to say, she's on the GRADD Board of Directors as a legislator on the board, and then she continues to be the field staff person for Congressman Brett Guthrie's office. So I can imagine, I don't know how many hours she works, but she's a very hard worker anyway. So again, I'm honored to have you on the GRADD Dialogue. I know you have in the past. We talked about different things. So those of you who may not know, that this three position, you had to know her. She stays very busy, dealing with the issues that affects, her district, her congressional district, and also her community. So, and also now, all the 7 counties of GRADD. So again, welcome on the GRADD Dialogue.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, let's, again, I'm honored to have you, have serve all those, different offices, and also ultimately your mission is still to help the people, to get the services and maybe their questions answered and everything else. I know that with the General Assembly, they just finished their 1 week of the
Correct.
session in January, and you have been now to some extent, I won't use the word old, but you are a seasoned hat, the legislator, and in the past, we have used your leadership in the different committees, and also your connection in Frankfurt, and we hope to continue doing those things. So just going to start with that to see. But this new day when you have a House and Senate, both are under one party leadership, same party as the governor. So what do you see the changes than what you see in the past?
Hopefully it's going to be a more respectful legislator on both sides, as far as the House and the Senate, and we've seen it in the Senate in the past, the minority and majority have both been heard. Bills have been passed on both sides of the aisle. We have not had that in the House before, so I'm anxious to see how that goes forward. And we have bills, good people on both sides of the aisle with good ideas to move legislation forward. So looking forward to seeing that more than anything.
Now, it's supposed to be 4 days in January. Then you right now you're in recess and to come back in February. So
correct.
And some of them, one of the senator, Dorsey Ridley, had called that session started out as a fast and furious, and you kind of feel like there is still some sort of mannered or some sort of process and everything else. However, you guys have been able to pass some pretty important key legislations. Can you comment on those?
Well, most of the items, actually 6 out of the 7 were not new items. 6 have been around for a very long time. In the past, they just haven't been heard before. And that's due to the majority party previously would not allow them to be heard. So as far as right to work, repealing prevailing wage, paycheck protection, probably one of the most important items that we keep reiterating is transparency. We did pass the transparency for the legislation, pensions, and the judicial branch, which I'm very pleased about that. I think you'll see more transparency bills go forward whenever we go back in February. But a lot of the items were not new items. They've been around for quite a while. But
now, when you talk about the transparency, kind of brings me to your key committee appointments that you are serving on now. I think one that we are really looking forward to is your leadership on the government operations, they call it, or local government committee is one of them. Can you comment on some of the key committees and what kind of issues your committees were looking into those?
yes, I'm the chairman of the A&R, the subcommittee for general government, which under general government does include Department of DLG, which the ad districts fall under that, and several other categories, including coal severance. I think that was one of the key products of me being from a coal area, to be put in charge of that committee. So we'll be meeting with staff actually during the break, and then we'll be going back and meeting with all the different groups that fall under that category, that we'll be meeting with them and kind of planning ahead and getting ready for the budget session for the following year is what that'll mainly be about. Getting our background, getting ready, going into budget year. The intention is not only for this year to go well and smoothly and be efficient with our time and get legislation passed and get things in place, is planning ahead for the budget year for next year, that we're not doing the budget on the last day. We want to make sure that we have everything we have in place ready to go and do our work ahead of time and try to be efficient with our time.
So with that committee, you know, chairing that committee, I think couldn't be perfect timing. You know, being on the GRADD board, you know, you more or less, you know, take the responsibility of helping not just your district, but all the 7 counties and all the communities, and that's where the Government Services Committee would come handy, and also you serve on the local government committee too. So that's another plus too, you know. So.
Well, and you're very aware, not all the ad districts are quite as transparent and well versed as the GRADD district. And so we have had some bad apples across the state that have caused a black eye on the ad districts. And that has caused a lot of concern from legislators, especially from the inner city ad districts. So going forward, I'm hoping that we can shine a little bit more light and show not only the bad stuff that's happened in the ad districts and that are being repaired actually, but also the good things that have taken place actually in the rural areas, especially, you know, in the Pennyrile, in the GRADD. We've got a lot of areas out there that are, the ad districts are a necessity for our small communities. So I think that's one of the things that we need to bring about.
And I support you 100% because really, you know, we are a steward of tax dollars, public dollars.
Correct.
So you got to be transparent. We got to make sure that we watch those things. So yes, we will support that. You know, and I may be even honored to, you know, testify whatever you got us want us to do those things. I wanted to make a point. You know, you mentioned just on passing that you know, they'll be meeting with the different staff, you know, before during this time. So for the people watching this, you know, they feel like, wait a minute, you know, this is a 30-day session, 30 working day session for the General Assembly. They spent 4 days, and now they're going to take 1 month off, you know, come back in February. However, during this 3 weeks of off time, you guys are busy.
Yes, we'll have different meetings with the general government. I'm designated staff to work with me on that committee, and so I'll meet with them and we'll kind of go over all the different categories that'll come under general government and what things we need to plan for. Start setting up our meetings for the different groups that'll be testifying in front of us, things like that. You know, we've got a lot of education that'll be coming up, and a lot of education issues that'll be coming up whenever we go back in February. You know, charter schools or school choice or school vouchers or some type of reform to our education system through our K through 12 is probably going to be one of the focal points of the 25 days after we get back. And so there's a lot of information that's being shared right now, a lot of visits to different places outside the state to see what states are doing things well. So we're trying not to reinvent the wheel.
And again, I think even though this session is, you know, what they call a short session, a non-budgetary session, even though you guys are not going to work on the budget, but what I hear is that more work gets done during this 30 days sometime, you know, you don't get hung up on only the budget side of it and not all. Now, you know, you mentioned earlier that, you know, the big bills like prevailing wages, right to work, and all those things has already gone through, and the governor signed that too. You mentioned charter schools. What other key things that you guys feel like, you know, as a legislator and as a committee as well as, you know, assembly as a whole are going to be facing when you go back in February?
The transparency bill for the pensions, and that would be the state pensions and also the teachers' pensions. That's probably going to be one of the larger topics to make sure that we know why things are not being funded the way they should have been funded. And so I think the transparency bills will be the ones that you'll see quite a bit of, and then trying to focus on trying to make sure we get everything ready whenever we go into a budget year. Now, I think you probably have heard more than likely we'll have a special session is what we keep hearing, and that'll be towards tax reform. And so you know, we've already been in, we added a day on a Saturday, and that, so instead of going back February 6th, we'll be going back February 7th. We had a lot of complaints that, oh, you're costing the taxpayers a lot of money. Well, that was just another one of our 30 days. There was not an additional day added.
Right.
And so I think the main thing is that a lot of the items that'll take place over the 25 days whenever we go back, not only a lot of transparency and planning for whenever we go back into tax reform, when we go back into the budget for the following year. We're trying to plan ahead. We're trying not to have to react to accidents and whatever may take place that we need to fix. We're trying to be proactive this time going forward.
So some of the work that you will be doing during this session could be a kind of foundation for the special session.
Yes.
And I think you mentioned about the tax reform. You know, we hear that as biggest thing is the tax revenues that are going to Kentucky
Correct.
right now. You know, could be facing in the future with everything else going on. And we also see that there are so many different tax exemption. You know, I mean, some depending on how it affects you personally, but you know, the good and bad. So you expect that to have some changes on those, you know, to get. Okay.
I think we'll have some light shed on what is actually, you know, what is tax exempt, what items should be, should not be, however it may be. I think that there's just going to be a lot of light shed on a lot of things that'll hopefully encourage us to figure out how to do things. We repeatedly have it in Frankfurt, and you've heard it too. The reason that we do something is the way it's always been done that way.
Right.
You can see the first week of session that we've had, it has never been done this way.
Right.
So I think you'll see that continue through the next 25 days of the 30-day session. I think you'll see that continue in the special session if the governor calls one. And I think you'll see that going into the budget, that, you know, we're going to do things like it's never been done before.
Right. You know, when you talk about, Suzanne, about the tax revenues and you know, some of your you know, areas that you cover in your district, and you know, the counties in GRADD are facing very similar to what the Eastern Kentucky has gone through over the recent years, about the, you know, reduction in coal mines and everything else, which in turn has reduced some of the coal severance funds for the counties. And you know, some of the counties like Union County, Webster County, even some mixed to Henderson County too, they really, you know, count on the coal severance funds. You know, do you expect any changes on? I'm sure you can't control the coal mining, but you can probably control how those tax revenue does get distributed.
There is a bill out there right now. Representative Gooch has already filed one to change the progress on how much money goes back to the coal counties. So I don't, you know, more than likely that will go to his committee. So just to kind of have an idea on that, since he's chair of natural resources. So I think that that's going to be an item that's going to come up. We've talked about that quite a bit. When there was plenty of money in coal severance, then it wasn't quite the issue. But now that it's starting to get a little bit slimmer with the revenues with coal severance, it's starting to hurt the counties that depend on that for their operations.
You know, best of luck on all those things. And I mean, we're so honored that you are representing us, and you know, in the General Assembly. But the minute that I have, I hate to be there, not to do justice on that, but the minute I have, can you comment on what is going on in Washington, that Congressman Guthrie is going to be busy as the time goes on? No.
Well, it's a new day in Washington too, and we have different leadership in Washington than we've ever had, and I think it's going to be similar to what we mentioned in Frankfurt. It's like nothing we've ever seen before. I think that, you know, going back to, I think we're going to see more transparency. I think that a lot of those items are going to be brought up at the national level too. You know, that's going to be, they're going to be in session more than they've ever been in before, because they've got opportunities to do big things.
So for the rest of the story, I'm going to have to get Congressman Guthrie on the show too.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Suzanne, thank you very much for being on the GRADD Dialogue, and I want to thank people watching this show. We've been talking to Suzanne Miles, and I see not only represents the you know, us in the General Assembly, but now she's also on the GRADD Board of Directors, and also she continues to be the field staff person for Congressman Brett Guthrie's office. Very busy lady. However, she always has time to talk to us. If you have any questions or would like to know more about how you can you know, get things done in Washington or in Frankfurt, you can always call this office or call Suzanne Miles. You can get her information on GRADD app or GRADD website. And if I'd like to also welcome you to come down on January 21st for the legislative breakfast. Thank you very much.
Well, I'm on my way back to the old home. The road winds on up the hill, but there is no light in the window that shined long ago where I live.
Wow. Welcome to the GRADD Dialogue. You've been listening to Judge Executive David Johnston. Judge, again, welcome. I wanted to get you on the show, and especially talking, playing your guitar, maybe even talk about the bluegrass music, because I hear so many comments, when you had the presentation, and you took us on a tour at the GRADD board meeting about the bluegrass history and some of the places in Ohio County. Again, welcome to the GRADD Dialogue, and those of you who may not know Judge Johnston, has been elected since 2010, and he was re-elected in 2014. And so very nice to learn that I've known Judge, gosh, for many, many years, was when you were Ohio County Parks Director. Right. But I think people did not know, and I did not know, that prior to that, you have worked as an engineer in many manufacturing facilities in Ohio County and also Western Kentucky. Again, welcome to the GRADD Dialogue, and it's so delightful that you are, with us. So with that guitar, kind of tell us to the audience how you started and why you love bluegrass music and kind of see the Ohio County bluegrass music.
I've lived in Ohio County most of my life, and all of my ancestors from both sides were there, and bluegrass music is the heritage of Ohio County. It was born there, created by Bill Monroe and his band and his family, and it's just something that I've always been proud of and have always been a fan of.
Since my time with the GRADD in Owensboro for some 40-some years or so, bluegrass music has been one of the key resources that we have as a region. Yes. And it's nice that the bluegrass music in Owensboro and all that, but the museum and everything else. However, the roots started in Rosina in Ohio County.
Yes, that's
so
correct.
Can you tell us what is going on in Ohio County, the efforts of, again, not only to promote tourism and with the bluegrass music, but also work with other communities around.
Right. Of course, the tour is a big thing that we're doing. We've also have the Rosine Barn, which is every Friday night. From March through December of each year.
I see.
And that's a big draw. And New York Times said it was number 42 best site in the whole world to see. So we're proud of that. And of course we have the Bill Monroe Home Place, which many people come to see, and it's open about the same months the barn is. It's from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. That's available for anyone to see. And many folks come to the Rosine Cemetery where Bill is interred, as well as his family. And so those are the things that you see in Ohio County. Now, we're wanting to add, are going to add our own museum, which will be another stop. And we can really be a day destination for anyone that's wanting to see the real heritage of bluegrass music.
Judge, I had last year. We had a friend from Czech Republic, as a regional. We're a sister region exchange.
Right.
And we had some of the elected officials and some of the policy officials from Czech Republic. We spent a day in Ohio County visiting the bluegrass sites, along with that Bill Monroe Home, and I saw some of the signatures on that, and there's so many different countries and people are coming. So it is not just the Kentucky roots and everything. It's been getting all over the world, getting to bluegrass music.
Yes, and of course the festivals that take place there brings a crowd. It's not unusual for a bluegrass festival to double the size of our county. You know, there's that many people that come to see him.
So you mentioned about the county's working on the Bluegrass Museum.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little more about where it's going to be and where you are on that project?
It will be in Rosine itself, on a piece of property the county has owned for some time. We call it Everett Park.
Everett Park.
In Rosine, where we have walking trails and campsites and that sort of thing already. It will be built there. The contract is let for the general contractor, so we hopefully work will begin on it as soon as the weather allows.
No, and that means you have been, or the committee or the people working on that already collecting some of the bluegrass music memorabilia and the Bill Monroe's. Okay. No.
Yes. A matter of fact, our county has owned for several years owned a great deal of memorabilia purchased from Bill Monroe's estate back about 99, 2000. We made a significant part, and it's been in storage all this time.
But there is also a small museum. Remember, I remember crossing the railroad track and going up the hill, and there was like a log house or something, and they had some of the bluegrass.
Yes, the Uncle Penn's
Uncle
cabin.
Penn's cabin. Okay.
Yeah, that was Uncle Penn Vandiver, who Bill actually lived with as a teenager after his parents passed away.
Okay. So, but let's talk personally. How come you got into the music and bluegrass music? Were you in a band or?
Yes. Growing up, all of my family and the friends around and everything, we played something similar to bluegrass. It was old country, old folk music, and church music and that sort of thing that we did, and just took a love for it. And of course, everyone would say, well, you know, bluegrass started here. Bill Monroe's from our county, and so that made me interested in it.
Judge, let's switch the gear from the bluegrass music to Ohio County.
Okay.
And Ohio County, has been, very progressive.
Yes.
Has been also one of the fourth largest in the land mass.
Right.
Can you talk more about Ohio County? People may not know, even though it's neighboring to Owensboro.
Yes, I think it's good. It's a great place to live. Things are at a little bit slower pace than they would be here in Owensboro, but it's not slow enough that it's boring or anything like that.
Right.
We have about everything that anyone would have to offer. We have a lot of things to do, and we have plenty of restaurants. Anybody that wants a job that lives in Ohio County has one. There's job openings all the time. We have the Bluegrass Crossings Business Center, which has 3 plants in it. Then we have Purdue processing plant there that employs over 1,000 people, and always wanting associates there. And of course, we have a county government. We have a career center, and we have a man hired that's doing nothing but try to improve our workforce development. He works on that nonstop with the schools and with community and the businesses and everyone to try to do that. And I think, well, like you said, we're progressive, and Ohio County is just a great place to live.
So really, you got the whole cycle or circle of anybody looking for a job. You can provide the skills training through the career center, and then also the industries you mentioned. Even though I know that we have worked with the Bluegrass Crossing, bringing in some of the industries there. And also with the process food, the chicken processing, the poultry processing project, but there are also business that connected with those things too. So it is a lot of potential.
Absolutely, and actually, coal mining is not dead in Ohio County like it is in many parts of the state. We're still very active in producing coal.
And let's talk about that. I know that in some part of the Eastern Kentucky and some part in the Western Kentucky too, the kind of mining is down, which has affected some of the the employees and everything else. So how is the coal industry in Ohio County?
Coal industry has been down, but not nearly as significant as it is other places. We're probably at half of what we was in the biggest part of the boom. And of course, a lot of excitement now for mining with the new administration coming in and the and hopefully a new direction the EPA may be taking to not be as hard on our coal companies. And there's a lot of excitement there that we may actually be in another coal boom.
Oh, okay. And you know, one thing I love about Ohio County and you know your cities and everything else is that they all work together so harmoniously.
Yes.
And also you and also Ohio County has been a great supporter and partner with GRADD.
Right.
So it helps us because we want to we can always provide assistance when somebody has some needs.
Right.
So let's just talk about we talked about some of the assets they have in the bluegrass music, Bill Monroe home place, the museum you guys are building, and also some of the industries. What do you think, Judge, some of the challenges that you feel like
the challenges, the biggest challenge we have, I think, is the fact that our community is so large in mass, and we have so many roads that Ohio County is to maintain.
Right.
And we also have such a large area to police. I think Ohio County has a higher cost that we put more into subsidizing our sheriff's department than per capita than any other county in the state by quite a bit.
I see.
Because we value our peace and safety so much that we do that. But the reason we have to do it is because of the extreme amount of land mass we have per population. We're the 5th largest county in the state of Kentucky, and we only have a population of 23,800.
Wow, so it's a lot of land to cover.
Yes,
Those
yes.
things. Yeah, and also quite a few communities too. I think we've got 5 cities.
We have 6 cities.
6 cities.
And I work good with all those mayors. We have a good relationship with all of them.
So and also you also work very good with the surrounding counties too. I know that you work with the Judge Mattingly on one end, and also Judge Thurman, so I know that's that works out pretty good.
Yes, we're proud to be a partner on the expansion of the airport here. So yes, we do work together on things.
Judge, I think with the plants going up in Owensboro and the Bluegrass Museum and the construction and everything else, I would imagine that as time goes on, we like to see maybe some sort of regional bluegrass music tourism, more activities working together. Because if somebody comes here to Ohio County, they would come to Owensboro or vice versa, because bluegrass music, and they just want to come from all over and everything else.
Yes, I would love to see that, and I would love to see when a large event takes place in Owensboro, Davis County, that we do the tour of Ohio County during that time.
Right.
And I would like to be that to be a more active thing, especially once we get our museum going. That's just enough stops to make it a good trip.
And I think you're exactly right. And also thanks to you with that reaching out and working together. I was talking to the new representative, Mr. Caslin, and he had the same comment to me, that you've been working with you to that we can work together, so again promote the whole region and everything else.
Yes, and another thing too, I believe now Ohio County is connected well with the state and with the federal government, and I believe we can use that to our advantage. I think that we do have that. As our senator said, the stars are aligned for your county. Of course, you know him well, C.B. Ember.
Yes. And I think in politics you got to have stars aligned, And I think the more importantly, I think you have through your staff, working with GRADD and everything else, some of the vision lined up, what you need, so when the stars are lined up, you're ready to to launch, to take the advantage and everything else.
Right.
So, Judge, it's been delightful talking to you, and finally got you on the show. And with that, would you play maybe 10, 15 seconds till we can close it?
Sure.
All right.
Sure
Thank you very much. We've been talking to Judge David Johnston, Ohio County Judge Executive, and also a lover of bluegrass music. And if you have any questions or want to know more about the bluegrass music in Ohio County or about Ohio County itself, you can always contact GRADD office at 926-4433. Thank you very much.